You are looking at a computer. It was found in a 2,000-year-old shipwreck. Its gears are cut with a precision that would make a Swiss watchmaker weep. It could predict the movement of the planets, the phases of the moon, and even the timing of eclipses decades in advance. There's just one massive problem. According to everything we know about history, it shouldn't exist. This single object, this impossible machine, is proof that our story is wrong. And it is far from the only piece of evidence. The past is not what we think it is. It's not a simple linear progression from primitive to advanced. It's a landscape of forgotten peaks of achievement and devastating valleys of loss. What you're about to see are not just curiosities, they are ghosts. Ghosts of a past so advanced, it challenges the very definition of our present. If you've ever felt that history holds deeper secrets, make sure you subscribe, because we are about to journey into a world that was far more mysterious than we have ever been told. Our story begins not in a lab, but in the chaos of nature. The year is 1900. A team of Greek sponge divers from the island of Simi, led by Captain Dimitrios Kontos, is fighting for their lives against a furious storm in the Aegean Sea. Thrown miles off course, they take shelter near the treacherous island of Antikythera. When the storm breaks, a diver named Elias Stadiatis descends to see if there are any sponges. At a depth of 150 feet, he sees a horrifying sight, a heap of rotting human corpses and horses scattered across the seabed. He signals frantically to be pulled up. On deck, he is panicked, babbling about a cemetery of the dead. The captain assumes the man has nitrogen narcosis, the rapture of the deep. To calm his crew, Kontos goes down himself. He descends to the same spot. The corpses were not bodies. They were bronze and marble statues, the silent passengers of an ancient Roman cargo ship lost to the sea for 2 millennia. They hadn't found a graveyard. They had stumbled upon a treasure that would rewrite history. News of the discovery reached Athens, launching the world's first major underwater archaeological expedition. For nearly a year, the divers risked their lives. Their equipment was primitive, offering almost no protection from the crippling effects of decompression sickness. 1 diver would die, and 2 would be permanently paralyzed. Yet, they persevered, bringing up magnificent bronze statues, priceless jewelry, and exquisite glassware. And among all this breathtaking beauty, they recovered a corroded, calcified lump of bronze and wood. It was so misshapen that it looked like a worthless rock. It was almost left on the seafloor, then nearly thrown out on the recovery boat. It was finally sent, as an afterthought, to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. There, it sat on a shelf in a storeroom, ignored and forgotten for 2 full years, a silent testament to the fact that the greatest treasures are often hidden in plain sight. Then, on May 17, 1902, an archaeologist named Valerio Stace was cataloging the finds. He picked up the lump. As he turned it over, a piece of its outer shell broke away. Inside the fresh break, Stace saw something that made him stop breathing. It was the unmistakable shape of a gear wheel. He looked closer, his heart pounding. He could see more gears, layered on top of each other, and faint, tiny Greek inscriptions. This was not a rock, it was a machine, a complex, intricate, geared machine. This discovery flew in the face of everything historians thought they knew. Complex gearing with triangular teeth wasn't supposed to appear for another 1,400 years with the astronomical clocks of medieval cathedrals. Stace published his findings, but the academic world largely dismissed him. The idea was too radical. So, for the most part, the world's most important artifact was forgotten once more. It took another half-century for science to catch up. In the 1970s, historian Derek de Solla Price used X-rays to propose it was an astronomical calculator. But it wasn't until the 21st century that a joint research team, using advanced CT scanners, could finally see inside its corroded heart. What they found was staggering. It contained at least 37 interlocking bronze gears. It modeled the irregular, elliptical orbit of the moon using a clever pin and slot system that varied the gear's speed. This innovation, differential gearing, wouldn't be seen again until the 16th century. It predicted both solar and lunar eclipses down to the hour using the 223-month Saros cycle. It even tracked the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. It was a complete, portable guide to the Greek cosmos. Its existence raises a terrifying question. Why is there only one? Technology doesn't appear out of nowhere. It evolves. Where are the simpler versions? Where are the prototypes? It's as if a fully functional smartphone appeared in the Middle Ages, and then the technology to make it simply vanished for a millennium and a half. Our next mystery takes us from the bottom of the sea to the desert sands of Mesopotamia. In 1938, the director of the National Museum of Iraq, Wilhelm Koenig, was sorting through uncatalogued items. He came across a peculiar object, a small 5-inch tall terracotta pot. Inside, a cylinder of sheet copper was sealed at the bottom with an asphalt plug. Suspended in the center of the copper cylinder, but not touching it, was an iron rod, held in place by another asphalt plug. Koenig recognized the arrangement instantly. 2 different metals, an iron cathode and a copper anode, separated by an insulator, inside a container. It was the exact configuration of a primitive galvanic cell, in other words, a battery. He suggested that the Parthians, around 250 BC, might have harnessed electricity 2,000 years before Alessandro Volta. The idea was, and still is, considered scientific heresy. Could it actually work? The theory was put to the test. After World War II, a General Electric engineer named Willard Gray built several replicas. For the electrolyte, the acidic liquid needed to kickstart the reaction, he used grape juice, a substance readily available in ancient Parthia. The result was a steady electric current of about half a volt. It worked. Other researchers have since replicated the experiment, using vinegar to produce up to 2 volts per cell. That's not much, about the same as a modern AA battery. But if you connect several of these cells together in series, you could generate enough power for a delicate process called electroplating or gilding. This is a method of applying a thin layer of gold onto a less precious metal. Proponents of the battery theory point to ancient Sumerian artifacts that appear to be gilded using a method consistent with electroplating, a process thought to be a modern invention. The evidence seems compelling, but the mainstream view remains deeply skeptical. First, the artifact's origins are uncertain. They weren't found in a controlled, modern dig, so their exact age and context are lost. Second, and most importantly, there is a complete absence of supporting evidence. No ancient texts describe their use for electricity. Crucially, no wires, no connectors, no electrodes, no gilded objects found alongside the pots. None of the associated equipment has ever been discovered. The alternative explanation is much more mundane. The objects could have been storage vessels for sacred scrolls. The delicate papyrus would be rolled up and placed inside the copper cylinder, which would protect it. The asphalt plugs would then create a perfect, watertight seal. In this theory, the iron rod is simply a spindle. Without more evidence, the Baghdad Battery remains a tantalizing enigma, either a revolutionary piece of lost technology or a simple, elegant pot for a scroll. The mystery of ancient electricity deepens in Egypt. Deep inside the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, in a series of claustrophobic underground crypts, a bizarre relief is carved into the stone walls. It depicts figures holding a large oblong object that looks remarkably like a giant light bulb. Inside this bulb, a wavy serpent emanates from a lotus flower that acts as a socket. This serpent represents the filament. A cable runs from the base of the lotus flower to a rectangular box. The entire device is supported by a jed pillar, an object which looks very similar to a modern high-voltage electrical insulator. Proponents of paleo-contact theories claim this is a clear blueprint for an electrical lighting system. This, they argue, is how the Egyptians lit their deep, windowless tombs, explaining the baffling lack of soot from torches on the ceilings. Is this a symbolic representation of a creation myth, as Egyptologists maintain? Or is it a schematic for a forgotten technology? From electricity, we now turn to a more baffling mystery: stone. High in the Bolivian Andes, at 13,000 feet above sea level, lie the ruins of Pumapunku. Here, massive blocks of andesite and diorite, some of the hardest stones on the planet, are scattered across the plain. These blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, are cut and shaped with a precision that seems impossible for a culture that supposedly had no writing, no wheel, and only soft bronze and stone tools. We see perfectly straight lines, razor-sharp 90-degree interior angles, and surfaces polished to a mirror finish. And we see perfectly cylindrical drill holes. Modern engineers confess they would need computer-controlled, diamond-tipped power tools to replicate it today. The official explanations involving patient grinding with sand and water simply don't match the physical evidence left in the stone itself. The tools don't fit the crime. What's even more perplexing is that these stones appear to be prefabricated, mass-produced components. The famous H blocks are all of a uniform size and shape, with complex interlocking features that suggest they were designed to fit together perfectly, perhaps held by metal clamps. It's like a giant ancient IKEA set, but one made of 100-ton blocks of the hardest stone imaginable. Some stones have incredibly precise drill holes running deep into the rock, with evidence of consistent feed rates that suggest a powerful, stable machine was used. Engineers have stated that to achieve this in diorite, you'd need a drill bit of immense hardness, possibly diamond, spinning at a very high and consistent speed with immense pressure. The official explanation of twisting a stick with sand and water fails to explain the sharp internal corners, the mirror-like finish, or the precision of the drill holes. It's a construction site without a toolkit. Not far away, overlooking Cusco, Peru, lies another megalithic marvel, Sacsayhuaman. Here, the defensive walls are built from enormous polygonal blocks of limestone, some weighing well over 200 tons. They are not simple squares. They have multiple complex angles, some with 12 or more sides, like pieces of a giant 3D jigsaw puzzle. Yet, they are fitted together so perfectly, without mortar, that you cannot slip a piece of paper between the joints. This technique, polygonal masonry, makes the walls incredibly resistant to earthquakes. The interlocking blocks grip each other, moving with the tremor and then settling back perfectly into place. It's a work of anti-seismic genius. But again, the question is how? How did the Inca, or a much older unknown culture, quarry, transport, Givinenda, and fit these colossal stones with such flawless, mind-boggling precision? The conventional theory is known as scribing and pounding. It suggests workers would suspend a 100-ton stone over another, trace the outline, then slowly pound away the excess rock with small river stones. Many researchers argue this method is completely inadequate for the scale and precision. It doesn't explain how they lifted and held these massive blocks in place for tracing. This has led to more exotic theories, rooted in local legends. The Inca themselves told the Spanish conquistadors that they did not build these structures, that they were built by an earlier race of giants. Other legends speak of a lost technology, a liquid derived from local plants that could soften stone to the consistency of clay, allowing it to be molded perfectly into place before it rehardened. While there is no physical evidence for such a substance, The perfection of the stonework forces us to consider that its builders possess knowledge we have completely forgotten. And then, there is the greatest stone structure of all, the Great Pyramid of Giza. We are told it was a tomb for the pharaoh Khufu, built with copper chisels and brute force. Yet, when it was first unsealed in the 9th century, it was found to be completely empty. There was no mummy, no treasure, no grave goods, and most tellingly, no inscriptions on the interior walls declaring it to be a tomb something found in virtually every other confirmed Egyptian tomb. Its constructional precision is the stuff of legend. Composed of 2.3 million stone blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons, it is aligned to true north with an accuracy we only matched in the modern age with lasers. It incorporates mathematical constants, like pi and the golden ratio, phi, into its very dimensions. Was this monumental effort, this feat of engineering that would challenge us even today, really just a pile of stones to house a dead king? Or was its function something far more complex? Some researchers, like engineer Christopher Dunn, have proposed a radical theory. The Great Pyramid was not a tomb, but a machine. A power plant designed to harness the natural energies of the earth. They point to the conductive quartz-rich granite used in the interior chambers and the insulating limestone that originally formed the outer casing. They analyze the mysterious, narrow shafts not as ventilation, but as precisely aimed waveguides for energy. They suggest the granite coffer in the king's chamber was not a sarcophagus, but a resonator, designed to vibrate at a specific frequency, stimulated by the Earth's own seismic energy and the acoustic design of the Grand Gallery. In this theory, the pyramid was a geomechanical device designed to convert tectonic vibrations into another form of usable energy. While speculative, this theory is one of the few that attempts to explain the many anomalies, its precision, materials, and lack of a body, that the simple tomb theory ignores. We now move from singular artifacts to technology on a planetary scale. In the bone-dry desert of southern Peru are the Nazca lines, hundreds of enormous drawings etched into the desert floor. They depict animals, plants, and complex geometric shapes. Some of these figures are over 1,200 feet long. They are so large that they can only be properly recognized from high up in the air. Created by the Nazca culture between 500 BC and 500 AD, their purpose remains a puzzle. How did they design and execute these massive figures with such perfect proportions without ever being able to see them from above? Why create art that they themselves could never fully appreciate? Were they astronomical calendars, as researcher Maria Rika believed? Were they pathways for religious rituals? Or were they, as some have suggested, messages to powerful gods in the sky? Not all lost technology is physical. Some of it is intellectual. The Voynich manuscript is a 240-page book, carbon-dated to the early 15th century, written in a completely unknown language or code. It is filled with illustrations as baffling as its text. There are sections on botany, filled with fantastical plants that match no known species. There are strange astrological diagrams, and there are bizarre biological drawings of what appear to be naked women bathing in elaborate interconnected tubes filled with a strange green liquid. For over a century, the world's best cryptographers, including the brilliant minds who cracked the German Enigma code, have tried to decipher it. All have failed. Statistical analysis shows the text follows the patterns of a real language. It has structure and rules. It is not gibberish. Is it an elaborate hoax? Or is it a genuine text written in a lost language, its secrets locked away forever? When we look at these mysteries not as isolated incidents, but as a collective body of evidence, a stunning pattern emerges. Advanced knowledge of mechanics, electricity, astronomy, and precision masonry appears in disconnected cultures, often with no clear developmental history. Could there be a common source? This is the foundation for the theory of a lost global civilization, a technologically advanced maritime culture that existed deep in prehistory, perhaps before the end of the last ice age, some 12,000 years ago. A civilization that mapped the world, understood physics, and was wiped out by a global catastrophe, like the Younger Dryas climate event. Perhaps all that was left were scattered survivors who passed on fragments of their incredible knowledge to the hunter-gatherer societies they encountered. This would explain why this advanced knowledge seems to pop up, fully formed, across the ancient world. It wasn't invented independently, it was inherited. Perhaps the most unsettling idea suggested by these artifacts is that progress is not a straight upward line. We believe we are at the absolute pinnacle of human achievement. But what if history is not linear, but cyclical? What if civilizations rise, achieve great technological heights, and then fall, losing almost everything? We know this happens on a small scale. The Romans had a recipe for concrete that grew stronger over time, a recipe we only recently rediscovered. The builders of the Antikythera Mechanism had a grasp of mechanics that vanished for 1,500 years. It is entirely possible that we have forgotten more as a species than we currently know. These ancient technologies might not be the work of aliens. They might just be human. The products of a civilization as brilliant, as creative, and as arrogant as our own, that simply didn't survive to tell its story. From a clockwork computer at the bottom of the sea, to batteries in the desert, to stones cut with impossible precision, these are not just historical curiosities. They are direct, physical challenges to our comfortable perception of the past. They hint at a story of humanity that is far older, far more complex, and far more mysterious than the one we are taught in school. We may never have all the answers, but the artifacts remain, silent witnesses challenging us to keep digging, to keep questioning, and to keep an open mind. The greatest mystery isn't just how these incredible things were made. It's what else is still out there, buried under the sand or lost beneath the waves, waiting to be rediscovered. What ancient technology fascinates you the most? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Thank you for watching.